So welcome everyone back to Synergy and Multifamily Growth and Mindset Talks. I'm here with my co-host Francisco Santos, founder of Your Financial Race. I'm glad to have you here with me again, and thank you so much for taking a part of this conversational topics that we've been tackling on YouTube and Instagram for our community. Wanted to, come back with you again as a follow-up from our previous week on the power behind your thoughts when speaking about and thinking about your financials, touching on the topic of, belief and that belief system that we should have, right, when approaching our finances and just orientating ourselves in our family situations. And I'd love to, expand and speak with you more on that.
No, definitely, Eric. I appreciate being back. So I told everyone I will be back. I'll have some more gems of how I live my life. It's not to a point that it's gonna look it's gonna match everybody. Some analogies may not resonate with some individuals, some will. But my biggest focal point is, as I said in the last video when we sat down and talked, was about thinking and energy, right? What you think produces energy, negative or positive or indifferent. There's never a dull moment that goes through your life that energy is not created. So, with that being said, is belief and feelings also contour into that thinking process, right? You think, you believe, or you feel. You typically want to stay out of. I want to say is I get into my feelings sometimes that causes me to get into my lack of belief of how I'm moving. It doesn't matter if it's financially, just anything in my life. Once I get into my feelings, sometimes I have to do a timeout. Take a 24-hour mental break and get out of my feelings. Sometimes when you react and you move in your feelings, especially in a financial atmosphere, it could lead to a bad situation, right? If you are not feeling too well and you're upset about something, the next best thing to do is go spend some money to make you feel good. And those are the things that'll put a lot of people in financial ruin, especially around, every single month, there's always a holiday or there's a birthday or there's an anniversary. There's something going on that's projected to remove you from your assets, which is your money, right? That's what you're going to use to create financial wealth, financial bearing, and leave that legacy to the future so they can understand how they can build and grow. But they're going to be watching you and how you move in your feelings. But if you have that consensual thought of belief, right, and you believe in, I have to move in this direction because it's the right thing to do so I can hand the baton to my future self, right? So your future self could be 2 days from now, a week from now. You go out and you get into your feelings and you spend that money that, you don't really want it, you didn't want to do it, but just to get yourself happy now, that baton, that bill is going to your future you. And now you got to figure out how to resolve that.
Absolutely. You touched on something there that stood out is protecting your assets, right? And a lot of the times when we're feeling down low, whether it's something family orientated or something more in your personal life, we always gravitate towards spending our money, right? And utilizing that retail therapy, what they call it, to make yourself feel better. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have the same problem once you come back from shopping, and you're going to have less of your assets, right?
One thing that I've noticed is, in my family, you know, credit credit was never talked about. It was not, it was to a point, no, I don't want it, you know. Um, and it could have been to a point. I can't say for sure because I never had the conversation with the individual that, scoped my life a lot, right? It was my father. So I never had the conversation with him pertaining to why he didn't really like credit or why he pushed away from it. For all we know, it could have been a lack of understanding of what credit was and what credit can do. Maybe he heard the negative about it. One thing that I wanted to do is, and I did run into some in my younger years, getting a credit card, not knowing what it was about. I was able to control it for a bit of time, right? But you get into a point of habit, you get into feeling spending. That's what I call it, right? And if you're going to get into that, and that's what we have to call it. We can't just give it an acronym. We have to call it for what it is. It's feeling spending. You're feeling a certain way, and you want to spend to make yourself happy. And if you go in that direction, we all do, but it's just to a point. How can you get yourself out and how could you recognize it that you're doing it? And it's kind of difficult, especially if you don't know the detriments of credit, what's going to happen. What you're, a lot of people say, hey, just pay just the minimum. Buy what you want because you deserve it. That's the biggest foolish goal that I ever heard in my life. Um, because if you spend what you don't have to get what you need, or excuse me, not need but want, right? That's typically what we have to do is take a look at our feelings. Our feelings are going to drive us to wants. It's not going to drive us to needs. So if we're wanting to make ourselves happier, and we have and that feeling is driving you to spending, that feeling is driving you to do something else, then I always say is the best thing to do is take that time out. Take that time out, even if it's an hour, 2 hours, go, take yourself to a beach, take yourself somewhere. Now, if you want to do that, retail therapy, do the retail walk. Don't, walk by it. Don't go into the store and spend and be like, go look, right? Window shop. There's nothing wrong with window shopping. I know, 50 Cent came out with a song called Window Shopper, right? Making it look bad, like you can't buy anything. You're just going to be window shopping. But I'd rather be window shopping than putting my future self in a predicament that I can't get out of, or I have to file for bankruptcy. And a lot of people look at it negative that they have to file for bankruptcy. No, we all make mistakes. We all fall. Every single one of my failures and financial um, habits that I had in the past have created what I am today. Was I was able to understand where I made the mistake, pick up that rock and use it for the next step up, that I can understand, like, okay, instead of that holding me down or sinking me to the bottom, I took that rock and I put it in a place to help me ascend and grow. Most people take that rock and they allow it to drown them in that habit, saying I'm not great in financial literacy, or I'm not great dealing with money. We all are. If we all treat ourselves as a business, right? We all look at businesses are an entity. If you look at yourself as an entity, and like case in point, what I told you, I every week I sit down and I go through my budget. And I wouldn't even call it a budget. I call it a money haven. I want to make sure my money haven is going into the right direction. That I am providing for myself to enjoy my wants. I'm also providing for myself to enjoy my needs. However, I am also being a steward of all that I have. So if I'm willing to sit down and treat myself like a business, I don't go bankrupt, or I don't have to sell off assets to make sure that I can get back into the black, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm treating myself like a business. Whatever I work for, that money comes to me. I work for that whatever that price that I work for, whatever it may be, it's still mine. I work for it, so I have to be that great steward in order to project forward. So understanding that you are a business, and that's how you have to really think about it. That belief has to be you are a business, and how you handle everything from that point will create what your business will be, right? And if you are willing to do that and move forward, that belief and those feelings will battle each other. Don't get me wrong, I always go through that battle. However, the battle will overcome. I've bought things and I let it sit on my counter. I didn't use it. I let it sit on my counter. I'm like, did I need this? And I let it sit for a week. And when I didn't need it, I picked it up and brought it right back. Sometimes that's what you have to do in the beginning for you to really understand how to get over them feeling purchases. When I was my biggest feeling purchases were fishing poles when I started fishing, because I was stressed from work and everything like that. I had to find the out. So I went from buying one fishing pole to buying 7 fishing poles by the end of the fishing season. Right? Did I need all 7? No, but I felt in order to be able to fish and do what I wanted to do, I needed the poles. Ever since then, I probably bought one fishing pole in the last 7 years, because I got to a point that, do I really need it? Because I'm only going to use 1 or 2 fishing poles one, I'm gonna go if I go on a boat, two or three if I go from shore. What the other one's going to be used for? They're just going to be sitting there collecting dust.
Just to touch base on the window shopping, there's such a power in knowing that you can purchase something, but you don't, right? Just that self-control that you have the money in your bank account to be able to do that. And there's no negative connotation with window shopping, I feel now, because a lot of people just want to feel empowered, right? And I think that's one of the main, reasons why I love having these conversations with you is because people can walk away feeling empowered and not feel bad about it because you're not the only one thinking a certain way with the different items that you don't need, especially when you're trying to find a hobby, right? At least from my experience. And when I first started my business as well, I thought I needed every single, piece of equipment under the sun, right? And, eventually you start gravitating towards maybe one or two, maybe three things that are just your go-tos. And then the rest of the things just end up piling dust somewhere in the corner of your studio or your work area. And you're like, do I really need this?
And it even boils down to, purchasing, footwear, clothing, stuff like that. We typically, I tell you right now, I have about 14, 15 pairs of shoes or in sneakers. I gravitate to three or four. That's it. There's a special occasion I may use one or two, but my go-tos are three or four, right? And they're the typical colors: gray, white, black, and a mixture between the two. So having the other stuff that I have is like, did I really need to buy all these?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I may have bought it for one outfit for going out, especially when my cousin got married a few years ago, we went to Cancun. Yeah, we had different, different get-togethers and stuff like that. So I bought some new stuff for that, but I haven't really worn them since, you know? So, at the end of the day, is it's like, how do you really get yourself situated? And it does give you a great reward that you could say, no, I don't need it, but I can have it if I want it, and that's where you become more powerful, is that belief system is starting to grow. I'm a big advocate for a lot of things. I keep saying that over and over again. There's a lot of things I'm a big advocate for. One of the things is I'm a big advocate for never eating your last seed, which in turn I could say in the financial word is never eating your last dollars. If you eat your last dollars or you spend your last dollars, nothing comes from it. Now you got to go work even harder. But if I allow, and me, I'm a gardener. I like to garden and grow things, and it's always a great pleasure to see, when you can purchase. Like I purchase my fruits and vegetables, but I keep the seeds, and then I grow from there. And my garden right now is from that, from the tomatoes and from the melons and all that stuff that I've eaten and I purchased and I've saved the seeds and now I'm growing them. And just to see that, that aspect of future, um, you know, achievement where now I'm waiting, then that's what we have to understand, is we have to have the belief is that when you sow, it never grows the next day to being an apple or whatever kind of vegetable, whatever you planted. It takes time. It takes months. Maybe it takes years, but then it will produce additional fruit. So that from that one seed, you have a one apple tree. But within 3 to 7 years, that apple tree can have 50 apples.
Mhm.
So that's what we have to get to, is that mind of abundance. And how do we create that when it comes to that one seed? And it's the exact same thing with my tomatoes, right? I have, 30 tomato plants. I grew over 70 just in case one of them didn't make it. I planted 70 seeds just in case. You want to make sure you have different avenues and you have that belief system that I'm worthy of it. I know this is coming back to me, but it's going to take some time to come back to you to be that great thing. And that belief has to be greater than your feelings. It has to be, because if you allow your feelings to take over, and this is not even just with financial stuff, this is with anything in life. Sometimes we feel someone disrespected us and your feelings go crazy. But sometimes you have to take a back seat and say, you know what? Am I given that grace by someone else that did the exact same thing? Or did I do something to someone else that gave me grace? And if that's the case, then you have to pull yourself back and say, you know what? Grace it is, grace I give. And that's the exact same thing with yourself. You have to give yourself grace when you're in your feelings. You have to say, you know what? I'm in my feelings, understand that, and then move forward and get back into the belief structure.
Realizing that each and every household is a business and protecting yourself as such, it gives you such a great amount of buffer to, eat out occasionally, but don't overspend it. Don't overdo it. You can purchase those shoes that you would like, but make sure that you're obviously within budget to be able to do so, so you're not playing catch up at the beginning or the end of next month.
A lot of people have a negative connotation about budget. They feel it's a stranglehold against their resources. I've listened to this book. I forgot who the author is. It escapes me. I'm sorry. One thing she brought up was the fact that it's about money, life, money, strategy, money, life, strategy, right? Money gives you life to do what you want to do, and you must have a strategy for it. So I'm not a big advocate of saying budget. I started moving to that portion of saying money life strategy because at the end of the day is if you utilize the money life strategy, which in turn is an acronym for budget, right? It's just another way to say it that makes you think differently. However, it allows you to structure your whole entity, right? And that's the reason why I'm starting to use the words, right? Words are powerful in how you use it. Your entity, your home, your whole establishment, because you are that business. So when you structure that entity within the money life structure or strategy, it allows you to have fun. It allows you to, create everlasting memories. It allows you to, save for the future. It allows you to grab whatever you need in the present. Granted, it may take some time before you get to that structure where you feel really comfortable and it's starting to run on autopilot. But you have to start somewhere, and your belief structure has to start somewhere. When I hear people say, I am not good at financial, no, you're not good at understanding because no one's taught you. You can't say you're not good at something because you haven't even tried it. Maybe you tried it once, maybe you tried it twice and you gave up. I remember, growing up and I was never great at a lot of things. I was always picked last when it came to sports. Last. And it got to a point that in my mind, I hate getting picked last. I hated it. So what I did was I practiced my crafts. If they were playing baseball, I went out every single day. I don't care if I got picked last. I don't care if I batted last. I was going to do everything I needed to do to get better, and I was going to learn it to the best of my abilities. So now I could get picked second. I could get picked third. I could get picked first. And that's what started happening. Even with basketball, growing up, the kids now have basketball hoops. We didn't. We had crates, milk crates. We cut the bottom out of the milk crates, nailed them against the pole, and we were taking jump shots without a backboard. I still wasn't the best player out there, but I got up every single day during the summer, went out there and honed in on my craft. The exact same thing with the financial side of my life. I wasn't great at it. I sought out professionals. I sought out individuals that were going to be able to help me, guide me, and mentor me, and show me where I needed to go. And and that's but I'm still honing that. I'm still mastering that craft. I haven't mastered it. I don't think I'll ever master it because there's always little things that come in that cause me to fail. But one thing again, I'm going to pick up that failure, that make it into a rock, and I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to climb up on top of it and say, okay, now I can see clearly. I can see a little bit better. Now I know where I made the mistake, and move forward.
It all starts within, just believing within ourselves and having those mentorships in place, right? I know that at least for us within our family, we started seeking that knowledge from everywhere, from your local library to, these professionals that we, come in contact with through Zooms. The help is out there. It's just, are you willing to dedicate the time to have a better understanding of how these systems work and how you can work within these systems yourselves. Just being able to humble yourself and say, hey, I need the help. I need to learn this. How can I do this with the help of others and the guidance of others? That's super important that I've had, from a very young age to man, just seeking that guidance from people.
one thing that I've learned is sometimes you have to pay for it, and then sometimes people will give it for free. And if you can't, afford it, by all means, seek it for free. Find someone who will give it for free just to get you started. You know, and building first you have to build that belief. Believe that you can do it. And you have to keep saying that every day. I am a master of my finances and everything that comes through. And you have to continue saying that every single day. I say it every day. I say I am a master of my financial and everything that comes to me. And you know, there's a lot of things that, can trip people up and everything like that, especially now, the economy is a different economy than when I was younger, right? And my children are facing a different economy. So how can I help them move through this economy that is a strange entity, not only to them, but to me, and help them understand and believe that they can move through this economy just like my parents moved through the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. And I moved through in the 80s and the 90s, in the 2000s, and I'm still going. It's just understanding that the belief cycle. Money tends to go and grow with the people who want to grow that money. And if you are that person that's willing to just let it go, it's always going to go and run away from you. I always tell, there's a couple of my students, I had told them, I said, if you chase money, you'll never catch it. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, throw money in the wind and go chase it. Tell me if you're going to catch it. I said, but if you throw it into a stream or you throw it someone else throws it into the wind and you're down below and you're not even expecting it and it comes your way, you pick it up. So sometimes you have to set that forefront and believe that that forefront, that money is going to come to you, be that draw to that money to come to you, but you have to be an excellent steward of that money. If you're not a steward of your own money, nothing will come to you. And making that money work for you, where now it becomes, just like the richest man in Babylon, the book, your money should be creating more money, right? You go out and he sends out to go conquer, and it brings back more money to you, more gold, more silver, more whatever it may be. I have to be very careful what I say about, money, right? Money is not what we believe. What we have now is a currency. Money is anything that is invaluable, that has a value, that can continue to move forward. So I have to be very careful of my words I speak. Is because now it changes my belief, because my belief is now moving to understanding what money really is. And I have to move that other word to currency that we use, the paper and all that stuff. So that way I separate the two and my belief is now separated to understand the difference.
Your words are powerful, and I think that by choosing the correct ones, it shifts your mindset, even if it is just a tweak, right? It makes people a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more open to the idea of you can conquer this mountain if finances are your mountain, right? With the proper guidance. Francisco, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and speaking to us and our community. It's been a pleasure being able to host your financial race alongside you, for sharing your information along with our Synergy and Multifamily community.
Definitely will be back. I enjoy, the conversation with you guys and sharing what I've learned. So I'll definitely continue to be back and share whatever I have. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Jahaira.